More questions. Yeah, question. Yeah.
What was the weirdest thing Ben has ever asked you?
Oh, there's a lot of weird things fans have asked me. Actually, they're pretty normal weird things. Let's see what's the weirdest thing a fan has ever asked me. That's a cool question. I can't think of anything. That's funny because there's always so many weird stories about like weird fan stuff. But I think that there's sometimes kids who are really young who will who don't know that things aren't real. So they'll really believe that it's real. And sometimes their questions will be coming from a place of thinking that I am that actual character or something. Which is not really weird, it's just endearing. I mean, people have asked me if I'm single or something, or wanted to date me or something. And it's a little uncomfortable because I'm like, I'm so sorry, I don't know you personally, and I know you feel like you know me because you know Soy Fun, and I know you love Soy Fun. Somebody will be like, I love Soy Fun, are you single? Yeah, but I'm not her. So, I mean, I guess that falls in the category of weird, yeah, Soy Fun, I'm really just, if you want to date Soy Fun, that's kind of weird, I guess. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. You cut off like 5 minutes until it officially ends.
Okay.
But the next one.
It's I'm always sort of really surprised that people like my work so much. Sometimes I'm like, they'll write like, I love this, and I love this, and I'm like, and sometimes I'll go to bed and I'll think, wow, I'm not that special. I'm just the bozo on the bus. And they really it's like they like me. That's so amazing. I think, what is sort of, actually this is a little bit critical. Some people write to me and they don't introduce themselves and they can't spell. And they're like, hi. And they'll just be like sort of disjointed, like, hi, why did Soy Phone, do this? And K-On is cool. And good night. And I'll be like, what's your name? Or they'll say, I didn't like, they'll say something like, I didn't like Suigin 2 because she's mean and you didn't play her well. I'm like, so do you want me to respond, or what's your name, or, so, I mean, those aren't funny, and I'm not answering your question, but, if you write to some of us, introduce yourself, say, hey, I'm Josh, I'm from Michigan, because then it's like, I want to know who you guys are, or at least just say what your name is. But it's always sort of weird when people, when it's very stilted, it's like, let's converse like people. No, I just think, I just get really touched that what we do means so much to you guys. That we've created some characters in some series that fill up a couple hours of your guys' life sometimes, and you can kick back and put up your feet and have a good time and forget life and enjoy and be entertained. And I just think that's really cool that I'm able to do that, and that fans express that some things I do are cool. And a lot of the times I'm really surprised that people like some of my characters as much, because I'll do it and I'll be like, oh, it's okay, And they'll be like, oh, it's cool. And I'm like, really? Oh, wow. So, yeah. Other questions? There. Isha?
Yeah.
You try? So, Isha talks to Kerrigan a lot and gives Kerrigan a lot of information because Kerrigan has forgotten her identity and has forgotten who she is. So it is Isha's job to inform Kerrigan of important information. Something like that. Yeah, in the back of the time.
Has there ever been anyone in the VA community that you have had trouble getting along
Not really. There's some people who I've occasionally found irritating, but I'm sure there are many people who have occasionally found me irritating. You know, there's some directors who are like nitpicky and it's annoying and you're like, but you know, it's like there's always people who you love, but they're, no, there's never been, I think I'm probably, I don't have like one of those like edgy personalities that it's really hard to get along with. Like most people, if they don't like me, it's just maybe, oh, Karen, she's just too blah or nice or something. But it's not. I mean, I'm not like one of those in-your-face people. So I'm not like in people's faces and they're not in my faces. You know, there's some people who are, you know, a little bit controlling about their projects. You know, it's like you guys have bosses, and sometimes you don't always like how they choose to tell you what to do, or you know, friends who you like, but no, there's never anybody who I've really had really bad blood with or anything. No, not at all. And there's not that much bad blood in anime except on screen. And then there's a lot. More questions? Yeah. Poison has evolved a lot. Poison has a voice that sometimes she's really low and butch, and then sometimes when she screams, she gets out up there. And there's been a lot of, before I do, I'm just going to talk about Poison a little bit. There's been a lot of kind of controversy about like how Poison should have been done, and was she done right? And this is a thing, like I was really, because she, I don't know, does anybody know the story of Poison? For those of you who don't, Poison, you know, because she's so hot, sexy, and at the time and in the generation that Poison was originated, when it came to America, they had to create an ambiguity about whether she was a boy or a girl, a man or a woman, because in that generation, this is Tekken, in that generation, it was frowned upon to see a woman hit and abused, and Poison is slapped around. So they had to create the fact that maybe she could have been a transvestite, and she never had a voice before. So when they cast me on her, they said, all right, Karen, here's the problem we have, is that she's never had a voice before, and some people might expect her to have a man's voice, and some people might want her to have a very sexy woman's voice, and some people might want her to have kind of an anime voice, because the woman who did her in Japanese had kind of an anime voice, but you might want to have a low voice because she might be a man. I'm like, oh, well, that's great. And then they said, okay, so we're going to direct you to do this. We're going to put a lot of different stuff in it, so we have some of this and some of that and some of that. So, you have sometimes, when she's yelling like a man, right? And then you have sometimes when she's like, ah! And she screams like a girl. So that's your like two sides of Poison. She'd be like, and number one! My voice cracks. And that happens, our voice cracks. We're like, oh, my voice cracks, I gotta do it again. And number one! You know, and she gets, ah! But then, you know, she'll go up and go, ah! Oh no! So we kind of split it in half and gave her those two parts of herself. And then a lot of times we did a lot of different takes on it, and I don't even know what takes they ended up taking, if they took like the more feminine ones, the more masculine ones. I've seen some of it, I haven't seen all of it, and I found that some of it I've seen, like some of the trailers were very, very more feminine side. But we did a whole lot of takes, and they, you know, chose stuff in the editing. I hope that...
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. I love Nanako. Yeah. How to do young children's voices. The first thing is you have to think like a child. I mean, because if you're like, technically, okay, a little person has a voice up here. Okay, now I put my voice up here now, you know, but it's like you can't just put your voice up there. You have to be a child, so you have to be a child at heart. So how I find Nanako is that she's not a bratty little sister. sister, but she's like the sister who's kind of always tugging on her brother's sleeves, you know, or, you know, big bro this, big bro that. So I kind of have to just imagine that if I put myself in that place, that when I was like, wait, you guys, wait, you know, and just imagine and put yourself what it's like, and then you start to think about, like, you start to think like an actor, like, well, what does this character want? You know, like some characters, like Soifan wants control, and she wants to beat people, she wants to be tough, you know. Nanako just wants to have a good time, and she wants to be around her brothers, and she wants to be around her friends. So her intention is like, I gotta keep up with the group, you know. You know, and then there's technically certain tricks, like, you know, if you play around with your voice. Like right now, I have my voice a little more placed in my chest and a little more placed right here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my voice gradually. You can hear it, I'm moving it to the back of my mouth. Now I'm kind of squinching it up here in the back of my throat, and you can hear I have a little nasal in it. Now I'm going to put it in my chest, right? But it's still half up here and half in my chest. And now, so if I put it all in my chest, then I get a little boy's voice right here. So you go home, you know, and you just like, kind of just move your voice around. Now you have a really funny character voice and it's in your nose. And now I'm squinching this like a troll or something. And then you just sit in front of a microphone or with your iPhone. I have my voice in here. This is interesting. Oh, I put a British accent on this. Oh, I have an old lady. She's really fast. And you just like start goofing around, you know. And then the other day I was on this character on the show. They're like, "Oh, Karen, can you do that lady with the big jowl?" And I was like, "Ooh, that's the one I was in the shower. I was doing that." Ooh, I was in the shower. Does this work? This is the voice I was doing in the shower yesterday. Oh, Karen, that's cool. This is my shower voice. So you just like, but you just start playing like with your mouth and you know, and then sometimes like, anybody ever play EverQuest? You guys played EverQuest, right? There is a character in there called Froglog. Does anybody see that character? Oh. This is Froglog. Froglog is a British accent that has a culture that's called. They had me do something in the studio with water. This British frog, but he had this jowl, and they wanted him to always have water in his throat. So sometimes we play with stuff, and we'll put stuff in our mouth.
That story.
Like, do not try this at home. But you know, you just play with stuff, you know? You want to hear my I just did a show called Pom Pom. It's really, really big with kids, and I just love the show so much. And I do this little kid who's like not very smart. His name's Chuck. Hi you guys. I don't know what to say because I'm really shy. My intention is I'm trying to find the right thing to say, but I'm not very smart, so it's hard. So I'm Chuck. Hi. There. I said hi. Bye. So he's like sort of not very smart, but he's really sweet. And in that, I had to do a tadpole, a baby tadpole. And they're like, "Oh, here, do the tadpole, Karen." I'm like, and then you think, okay, you got a tadpole. Well, a tadpole lives in the water, and it's very, very small. So and you're like doing this like really fast. I'm like, I need to create a voice that's really, really small and is in water. Oh, I'll use my face. And you're just like, you start playing with your face, you know? Put things in your mouth, you do things with water, you know, so you just play with stuff, and then one day you're like, oh, I can use that. I mean, I'm not even very good at it. Like, God, there's people like Laura Bailey who like can make their stomach growl in front of the microphone. If you ever get her on a panel, ask Laura Bailey to make her stomach growl in front of the microphone. You can tell her, Karen, that I told you to do it. Are we out of time? 5 minutes?